Hi, my name is Chuck Sutton, here with iZotope. I'm going to show you 5 tips on utilizing reverb as a creative way to subtly fill the space in your music without any unnecessary bleeding or dilution of your source sounds, thanks to iZotope's Neoverb. Before I get into the process, let's do a before and after. I already like my arrangement, but listen to how dry everything is. There's clarity, but not a sense of depth. Now when listening to the final result, notice a sense of space in the mix, as well as some new melodies that were all possible thanks to Neoverb. Without any reverb, I want you to listen to these intro chords. These chords feel very relaxed and ambient. Now let's listen to the chords in the main section. These are very plucky, staccato, sparse. There's lots of silence in between. Taking a moment to describe these sounds will tell us exactly what they need, so we're going to emphasize the relaxed intro chords with an instance of iZotope Neoverb. Each color represents one of the 3 built-in reverbs. Blue is your reflections, purple is your plate, and orange is your hull. To demonstrate how each one of these sounds, I'm going to turn up every decay time to max and then preview them one by one. It sounds great, and now I just need to control when it stops. You can do this in any DAW. I'm selecting my plugin parameters, find the one called Dry Wet, and then right-click to show automation. Now I can automate a straight line from 100% to 0, so our reverb cuts out exactly when we need it to. So to recap, this is our intro without any reverb. And now with Neoverb, we're getting such a good contrast. Without automating Neoverb, I'm losing the glitchy energy from the chords that I want. I decided to go with a reflection plate hybrid, and now instead of having a static on or off reverb, we can automate in the middle of a section to add more dynamic movement. It swells up and then disappears right when that 808 hits. So after messing around, this is the automation I have. Neoverb was doing such a good job with the chords, I thought, might as well throw it on my percussion group too. It's kind of subtle, but watch the automation line and listen out for all the swells. This is how the section sounded before we started automating Neoverb. And now we're getting a bunch of new detail that's not even overwhelming. Reverb is one of the quickest forms of sound design, and to prove that, I'm gonna actively look for a sound that might not fit this song too well. Perfect. Alright, I'm gonna bring this sound into the track. Let's see how it sounds. It's honestly not that bad, but it's taking up a lot of room, so this reverb tip will help. No matter what, every reverb has a make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications to support this channel. First, I'm gonna make a very short MIDI note, like that. Now I'm gonna open up Neoverb and head over to the Reverb Assistant. Here I can choose a style, size, and tone, and Neoverb will listen to my sound and pick the right reverb for me. It's a really great tool. So after letting it listen, this is the reverb it gave us. So now instead of having to make a new reverb preset every time, I can open up the Reverb Assistant and it'll get me to a really close result that I can just do some minor tweaking to. And now I have a reverb that I really like. This is before, and this is after. That long tail you just heard is what we're going to use for the sound design. You can create melodies and chords by just freezing the reverb, dragging into audio, and then just bringing it into a sampler. I opened up a new MIDI clip and I started laying down some MIDI notes to figure out what could work with the chord progression. And I was able to add something with this reverb tail that didn't distract from the existing idea. It just added some new timbral depth. Now I'm going to switch between what I did with the original preset and what I did with Neoverb. This technique doesn't really have a name. For now, I'll call it self-sidechaining. To make it easy to hear, I'm going to use a saw wave. First, I'm throwing on Neoverb and making the tail as long as I can. Next, I'm going to group the Neoverb like before. And instead of going to the Automation tab, I'm going to label this signal chain wet, create a new chain, and label that one dry. Now, the reason I'm calling this technique self-sidechain is because we're going to take a compressor and add it to the wet channel. Hit the sidechain button and then search for the dry signal. That way, whenever the dry signal plays, we'll crank up the ratio so much on this compressor that we won't hear the reverb at all until the dry sound is done. To make it clear, I duplicated the Neoverb. Listen to how it sounds while I improvise over this song. The difference between reverb that sounds intentional and reverb that feels slapped on is the perception of clarity. This can be taken care of by tweaking the pre-EQ and reverb EQ yourself, or by using the Reverb Assistant to analyze and guide the clarity for you. This self-sidechaining effect takes the concept of clarity and exaggerates it into a creative tool that can redefine how you write melodies and chords. Try this on vocals too, that's when I have the most fun with this trick. I've actually never done this before, I caught this moment on camera. I had an idea to make a new audio track that listens only to the wet reverb signal. I'll do a before and after, and I know it looks like I'm just showing you the same improvisation again, but check out what I recorded. I brought that reverb into a sampler and then went to a slicing mode, in which when I play notes on my MIDI keyboard, they correlate the different sections of the reverb. Going back to the intro reverb, when soloed, I heard a little click that DAWs sometimes introduce with automation. That little one right there. Sometimes it's so quiet you won't notice it, sometimes it gets loud to a point where it can distract the listener. The best way to fix this is by bouncing your reverb down to audio. Not only will you be able to clean things up, but you can also chop and glitch things in a sampler. As a very wise Edna Mode would say, no clicks. And here's the last instance of me freezing reverb for one reason, and then getting distracted, throwing it into a sampler and trying to find a new rhythm. I started making this as a Neoverb demo, but now I'm actually feeling inspired to finish this. Thank you so much for watching. You can grab a free trial of Neoverb over on iZotope's website. And I like watching production videos too, so if you upload something using any of these tips, tag me and iZotope so we can watch too. Have fun creating.